That is a real expression. And welcome back. Historyologist podcast number...
Yet to be determined.
Indeterminate.
Depends when you edit it, put it together, and...
Yes. I do all the work for this channel, and...
What are we talking today? Talking about today, Tristan?
We could talk about a very interesting topic of events that we'd wished we'd witnessed.
So I'd just like to say, before we go any further, Tom Holland has, again, for many weeks in a row, not replied to my email to be a guest appearance on the show.
Okay. Can we formally ask Tom Holland, if you are listening, that's a big if. If you are listening, Tom Holland, the historian, not the actor, Tom Holland.
Not Spider-Man.
We are reaching out to ask you to be a guest on this podcast.
We'll settle for your co-star if he's available. Can't remember his name, but
Dominic.
Dominic. Dom. Anyway, sorry.
I'll start. Here's one history. It is a historical event that I'd wished I'd witnessed.
Yeah.
My dad saying "I love you" to me.
Me too.
Now, I don't know if he said it or not, but either way, I'd wish I'd been there for it.
It's just one of those blokes who just has nothing nice to say unless you're not in the room. It's like, get out of here, you useless fucking... He's like, oh, he's such a good kid, though.
Yeah, it's more like, nice haircut, dickhead. That I leave there, he's like, I actually do like that haircut, it's pretty cool.
You got to toughen him up a little bit.
No, but on a more... Well, I was going to say more serious, but I mean, it's not serious at all.
No.
One thing that I would... I'd like... I mean, it's like you'd like to witness it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I would. And that's it's the battle of Cannae. However the Latin is meant to be pronounced. It's the one where Hannibal essentially kills like 35,000 Romans in one day. Yeah, encircles them, and you've got like dudes in the middle who are just like, you know, there's like dust and shit flying around. They can't see anything. Just like the heads of all 30,000, people encircled around them. And the Carthaginians are just like essentially just hacking them to death, just like going in. And it must just absolutely stink. And you've got like blood and guts and shit flying around everywhere. And I suppose like...
The guys in the middle just sort of unable to move all day, just sort of like watching this happen around you. Yeah, but probably not even seeing it, just hearing it like, oh.
Yeah. Supposedly they were jammed in so tight, like shoulder to shoulder, that they couldn't even lift their sword to knife themselves, to kill themselves.
It's this fucking 30,000 man strong mosh pit you're just stuck in the middle of.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in a mosh, and it's a mosh pit these days where no one's getting killed.
No.
But it stinks. It absolutely... That's the thing no one ever tells you about going in a mosh pit, is it just stinks of sweat and all kinds of things. So but people are having a good time there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, most people. I don't know if anyone was having a good time here.
I remember hearing something like towards the end of the day, because it took all day, right? Yeah, and I don't know how, anyone would verify it or even know this, but like apparently by the end of it, you get to the Romans in the middle and they've just kind of like tried to bury their head in the sand, just like, God damn it.
I don't know, but again, how if they're shoulder to shoulder can't move, why are they burying their heads? What, that second one, that sounds made up to me.
Yeah.
But
it's a funny detail though.
It is, yeah. Like, I don't know, did Hannibal just set up like was this kind of like a semi-mechanized kind of process where it's like, all right, you kind of and then when your arm gets tired, tag out and get the next guy in, and then here.
Fuck, that's so funny to think of, right? Because it probably wasn't have been the same guys at the front all day. You've got you're there for half an hour or whatever, hacking away, and then you sort of tap out with your buddy and you go and have a cup of tea in the distance and watching. He's like, oh, it's my turn to jump back in.
Yeah. I mean, because I've never hacked anyone to death, but I could imagine it'd be quite tiring. So, if you do it once, twice, like when you're getting up to the 10th guy you've hacked, like surely you would be getting a bit tired.
Well, I mean, a hammer, right, is going to be not as heavy as whatever swords they were using, or or whatever arms, right?
Yeah.
And how long can you swing a hammer with one hand before your arm starts to get sore? And yes, these guys would have been trained for it, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's going to be significantly heavier and have more leverage on the end with whatever they're using. So
to answer your question, if the listeners of this podcast could see my hands and fingers, they would know that I've never used a hammer.
I actually used to have... My previous job was modelling women's jewellery.
Anyway, that's... So, again, that's something that I'd say I wish I could have seen, but at the same time, I don't know if I do wish I could have seen.
Yeah. It's just... By the end of I'd be like, oh yeah, cool, and then after a couple of hours of it, you're like, oh, this is it's a bit much. I'd love to see Xenophon's 1 million, the whole 300 sort of story. What does that million men sort of look like? Or actually, there's a story. Clive of India. He's got one of the best killed enemy win ratios ever, because can't remember all the details, but basically Clive and his boys, they're in India, and there's 400 of them or something like that. Basically he only had 20 officers in his sort of corps, so it was a very small amount. There's sort of they've set up, they've got their cannons and stuff, and then you've got versus 50,000 plus Indians on elephants and all that stuff, and obviously the Indians have sort of gone in there pretty confident because there's only a couple of hundred. It's a 15-1 kind of ratio. I think they worked out at the end, but he just those boys standing with one side of them on a mangrove sort of forest, sort of it's bucketing down to the rain, so you've got canvas tents or whatever over, trying to keep the gunpowder and stuff dry. And you've got the French cannons on the other side. And what does 50,000 plus people with elephants look like against a tiny little group of, it's just the scale of the whole thing is so... I mean, it's basically Lord of the Rings, to be honest, before the ghosts turn up and... Yeah. It's Moomakill. Oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, just the absolute scale of it, and you can imagine, they would have, the elephants and everything would have been really embellished, and just the majesty, sort of, in that Indian garb. And when the dude lost, he lost so hard that he had to fuck off, because how did you manage to lose or rout? You have 50,000 of your men, routed due to, I don't know, just a couple of hundred sunburned Englishmen with limited supplies and stuff in your own territory.
Yeah, they sort of messed that up a bit.
A little bit, and even the French artillery, that was helping them, but I've seen people be well, they wouldn't have lost if the French remembered to, if they had the canvases to stop their gunpowder getting wet. It's so what's your point? They didn't do it. And you lost. It's Nelson only won the Battle of Trafalgar because the Spanish brought the wrong cannonballs. What are you talking about?
He won.
He won. Cope harder. Seethe.
I'll tell you another one that would have just been so... The event that the thing that I'm going to tell you about, I also suspect that seeing some of these things, it would have just been, if you were actually there, it would have just been very that just happened. It's you build it up in your head it's this big amazing thing. But anyway, I think this one would have actually been amazing. And that is when Hernan Cortez met the Aztec emperor in Tenochtitlan.
Yeah,
which... before that, the Spanish, they'd just maybe 20 years previously, 15, 20 years.
Just bopped around.
They'd kind of colonised Cuba and a couple of islands and done, terrible things to people there. but they didn't know much about what was further west.
Yeah.
They'd heard stories about this kind of, or this sort of civilization or this empire or whatever.
Well, they described cities and stuff, didn't
they?
Yeah.
So they'd heard about these cities and the rest of it, but they didn't know much about it. And so, Cortez I won't do the whole story now, but he was the guy that was picked to go sort of lead an expedition or whatever to try and make contact with this city or this emperor. And so he pitched up with about, it wasn't many, it was maybe 200 or 300 dudes with a few horses, maybe a couple of cannons and a few guns. And then, they made these alliances with the different tribes along the way that hated the Aztecs. He gets to this city, Tenochtitlan, the capital of the empire, and he finds it's a huge city. It's like massive. It's I think it was at the time it was just as big or bigger than any city in Europe.
Yeah.
And so they had this huge city, and they didn't have any metalworking technology. Like no metalwork. Like their swords were like
obsidian.
Yeah, like bits of wood with the obsidian sort of wedged in the wood or somehow like plastered in the wood or something.
Yeah.
Those were their weapons. They'd never seen horses before. They'd obviously never seen guns.
Probably wouldn't work, or it was like super effective of just like absolutely shredding people to pieces, but like not so great on like bronze chest plate kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it just must have been amazing. Like Cortez, like walking through the city, they're all in like their, like 16th century European armor and all that, and then just meeting the emperor. And I think he did have a translator or someone that spoke the local. So it must have just been amazing. And then Cortez would have been saying, we've got all these people like just 3 months sail back that way over the sea, and there's shitloads more of us, and and we've got all, and the emperor's like, yeah, righto, you're just trying to yeah. It would have. I mean, I don't speak Spanish so well, and I don't speak Aztec, so I would have no idea what they're talking about. But
just like, whoa, you just head going backwards and forwards as the dialogue continues. Like, wow.
So yeah, that would have been an unreal thing to witness.
A funny answer would be like 9/11 or the moon landing, I suppose.
Wait, which moon landing? The one in the, the Hollywood basement somewhere, or the actual one?
Yeah, well, it's the Stanley Kubrick film.
And do you mean the actual one on the moon, or like just you're watching it from TV? Because we can do that now.
The actual one.
You mean like you're on the moon?
Yeah. Just sort of like watch them sort of come down and go, oh, checks out. Fucking, they did it. Good on them.
Yeah. It is kind of funny because a lot of, well, since sort of video technology was invented, a lot of these historical things, you can just watch the video of it.
Yeah.
But when especially the older videos, you watch it and it doesn't seem real, does it?
No.
Like I've seen the video of JFK get assassinated, and he's riding in the car, and then bang, and then his head knocks back.
It's like you remove the audio, and it's just like suddenly his head explodes. Like, whoa.
Yeah, but it's like it doesn't. I don't know. And again, you sort of have this story of like it's this big pivotal moment, and it sort of shifted America and changed the whole thing, and this and that. But when you watch the video, it's just like
it's a moment.
Yeah, it's just up there, and he's gone, and then the car drives off, and people jump over him, and that's it.
Do you think the same would have been for like, Archduke Ferdinand sort of thing? Like, well, it obviously would have been because they pulled up and like Gavril Lapricet jumped out and he's like, "Ha ha, gotcha." It would have just been a really quick moment in time. He would have been arrested.
Yeah. The one that I think about this, probably the most famous assassination is that of Julius Caesar, where he gets knifed by like 20 or 30 senators.
It would have happened so quickly.
That's a good one to watch. Like, would it have just been like pick a city and you go down an alleyway and you get jumped by a gang of 5 dudes and get your wallet stolen and stabbed, which happens.
Yeah.
Would it have been like that, or would they have all sort of like been like, we're doing this for the Republic,
death to tyrants,
or would they all just been like, oh, yep, just piling in? Or
it's funny to think of like because I think the way the story's told, like the entire Senate was sort of like in the conspiring. Like everyone was kind of in on it, but like, you know,
they all had to have their turn, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so they all had blood on their
they're all part of it. But like, where there were like just a couple of people in the back who just may not have been across it, or just totally, or you know, just late, but wasn't there for that meeting or whatever. You know, they're all sitting there and then like, oh, holy shit! Oh, they're stabbing him! Oh shit! What are you doing?
I think I'm not certain, but I think Cicero was there for it. The great, you know, Roman statesman. He wasn't a part of the conspiracy.
No,
I think he was offered to be a part of it, but he declined.
So he's sort of going to walk in and gone, nope.
Yeah, but I think he was in the meet, or he was there, and he was going, like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, what's going on? Because it didn't on the way, like the way the story's sort of told, like I don't know, he's like, you know, he's on his way into the Senate, and this old crone's kind of like, "Beware the Ides of March."
Yeah,
and he's like, "What?" It's like, "Beware the Ides of March." He's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, "Oh, don't go into the Senate on this day, okay? It's not going to work out." For he's like, "Oh, fine, jeez." But, you know, I am, because I'm Caesar. Off I go. Yeah, I mean, well, a fun one that jumps into mind is, like, I want to see Jesus. I want to see him come back.
Yeah.
But I'm going to balance it out, and I'm just going to stand there and be very critical of Muhammad as well.
I want to see him fly to... I want to see Muhammad split the moon and fly to heaven on a winged horse.
With 4 wings, mind you. The horse had 4 wings.
Yeah, one for each leg.
Yeah, pretty much. Like flutters off like a butterfly. So like it'd be even-handed, you know. I mean the water into wine thing. Like, I mean, yeah, okay, that's not going to be disparaging, but like I've got a brewery myself, you know. Like it's very doable. I think it's just someone being like, "Whoa, you can
just give me a couple of days and I can turn water into wine."
Yeah. You know? So like I don't want to get super nitpicky on that because I'm like, you know, whatever. But like it'd be interesting. And then these 500 witnesses go and have a conversation. Like it's like, yeah, no, he came to me. I'm like, oh, did he now? No, but Christ is king. Sorry. What about, you know, Agamemnon's 10,000 ships? You know, when his wife's gone and fucking done a runner on him, and he's like, oh.
I mean, I think that was... I suspect that that's a story. And that maybe there was some... You know, I think there is evidence for an invasion of Troy and some sort of battle, or Troy was destroyed or something. But I suspect that the story is a story.
Well, all right, here's a fun one. Like, so it's classic, right? Go back in time and see the pyramids being made, right? You know, and it's a bit of like a monkey's paw kind of like djinn kind of wish. You have to be careful with how you phrase it, because if you're like, yeah, I want to see the pyramids get made, and you're like, drops you in, you know, Egypt, and you're like, you know, there's the dude laying the first stone. You're like, oh fuck, you know. It's like apparently they were done in like 30 years, so it's just like, oh god.
I think it was even less. It was like 14 or 15 years.
That's even more insane. But it's like just sitting there like, okay, well, just sort of chill and sort of wait how this whole process goes, and you know, you go to sleep one night, come back the next day, and you've missed the aliens completely, and you're like, oh god.
Well, yeah, they'd be very sneaky, the aliens, surely.
Sneaky, or just straight up out front, you know, with dog heads and all sorts of crazy shit going on. Like, woo! It's like Graham Hancock talking about like the lost, you know, hover technology. You know, it's just like, yeah, well, they must have like, you know, modulated their vocal cords and, you know, with sounds levitated the stones. It's like, stop it, stop it, Graham. My wife was a big Graham Hancock fan, but you should have seen the look of disappointment on her face when we went into the bookstore and she was like, oh, he writes fiction too? It's like, oh, and it's about ancient civilizations as well. It's like...
Yeah, I mean...
I was like, yep, try not to think about that too hard. Yeah,
it
kind of ruins the fun.
Good old Hancock. Well, maybe we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
We can, if this is a popular series, we can pick it up. And if it's not popular, we can pick it up anyway.
It's you just keep doing it until someone disagrees with my 5-star rating.
Yeah, can we? Maybe we should have a podcast motto like podcast or die.
It's like history. You have to believe it, or we'll fucking kill you. But we can work back from that.
We're on the cliff and we're willing to negotiate.
If you don't listen, I'm gonna unalive myself in Minecraft. It's gonna happen. I'll do it myself. That's what it means.
I'm gonna kill myself. Myself.
These hands. Fucking Christ.